Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Two Grown Men. As usual, Yemi and my co host.
Hello, everyone. My name is Olawumi. Welcome back to Two Grown Men. How are you today?
Yeah, not bad at all. Not bad at all. Yourself?
Breathing, man. We're alive. We're breathing, and insulated from some of the madness that's going on around us. What's up? How you doing?
I know it's been a busy year. Today, we're going to kickstart the show with Kemi Badenoch, who
Get
announced
me. I feel like I should.
Kemi Badenoch.
I feel like
Oh.
I should be ducking. That you discuss Kemi and people will come for you because she polarizes opinion.
We've
Kemi is one of
wanted
the
to
most
discuss, we've wanted to
polarizing.
discuss Kemi for quite some time.
Oh yeah.
And every single time we say we'll discuss Kemi will always come back with a new breaking news. So I'm sure if we don't even discuss that today, in next 3 months there'll be another breaking news.
3 months, another month. Should have another album in another couple of weeks.
Trend setting Kemi. Let's get into this video and then we'll give our thoughts after this video. Let's get into it.
We need to change the way our immigration system works. So I'm announcing that the Conservative Party is going to do the following things differently. 1. If you want to stay in our country permanently and apply for indefinite leave to remain, the time you have to live here before you apply will increase from 5 years to 10 years. 2. You will have to be a net contributor with a high enough salary, especially if you want to bring family members with you. And if you've got a criminal record, you're banned. 3. If you've claimed benefits or need social housing, you can't even apply. 4. We will increase the time before you can apply for a British passport from 12 months to 5 years, meaning it will take a minimum of 15 years to start an application. 5. If you enter this country illegally or outstay your visa, you'll be banned from ever gaining leave to remain or a passport. These changes, on top of a strict numerical cap on numbers, will constitute the most robust changes ever made to our immigration system. Lower numbers, secure borders, and an immigration system that finally works for the British people. This is another step in our plan to control our immigration system. If you agree, join us and let's get it done.
Okay,
Oh
okay,
God.
okay, 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 okay,
Spitting fire.
okay. You heard it. You heard it. Not paraphrasing, didn't read it from a blog. You heard it from the leader
Horse's mouth.
of the Conservative Party.
Herself.
Yes. Saying
Yellow Day herself.
plan, our plan, if she gets elected as Prime Minister. Laomi, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts?
So much to unpack. I think the first thing is that look, that was another album, right? With stringent criteria for immigration. But it's where it lands, it's how it lands in the heart of our African, our Nigerian brothers and sisters. What? Tougher criteria for immigration, so many things. 15 years. It's been 10 years for as long as I can remember. I mean, there's so much to unpack here. What perspective do you even start with? Do you look at it from the British perspective, from the conservative perspective, from Kemi Adegoke's angle, Kemi Badenoch's angle, or from the angle of, us, the Africans, or the people who are watching, the potential immigrants who are watching? Where do you even start to unpack it? Where do you want to start? But I know that some people right now, as she was announcing, people were shake paying for her. What? Especially people who are already in the system are like immediately wondering, how does this affect us? I'm already I'm already at 8 years. I'm at 9 years. I was thinking I have 1 year or 2 years to go. You're not telling me that it's going to be 15 years. Well, I mean, the good thing is that she has not been elected yet, right? But she's telling you that's a very clear statement of intent. It says, this is what I intend to do. You have to give Kemi some credit for being bold and direct and honest with her plan. this is what I'm going to do, and this is how I'm going to do it. He accused politicians of being vague or being liars. This one, she's been very clear as to what she wants to achieve. How it hit you? How's it doing you? Let's hear your perspective.
So, look, like you said, it's a proposal. It extends the current period from 6 years to 15. It's plenty. That's number one. That is plenty. I think it's plenty. You're going from potentially a 6 year period to now a 15-year period. That's a lot. That is a lot. You can't deny that. That's a lot. That's number one. Number two, it's how can I say this? There are elements that I totally agree with what she said. I mean, if you have a criminal record, why should you be allowed to apply for citizenship, for naturalization that is going to lead to citizenship? So that suggests that that's currently happening. So I agree with her on that point of view. That's a no-no. If you're claiming benefits, you're already flouting your visa requirements, which is you're not supposed to be on benefits. You're not so because the benefits are supposed to be for the beneficiaries, which are the people, the citizens of the country. You can't go to Dubai and claim Emirati status. You're not an Emirati. And they made it clear that you can only be an Emirati if you are born an Emirati. In fact, their own is even so stringent that if you marry an Emirati, so if a man marries an Emirati woman, that man cannot be an Emirati. So an Emirati can only be born as an Emirati. So if me, for example, marries a Zainab, who is an Emirati woman, our child will become an Emirati. I will never become an Emirati. In fact, what I'll be given is an extension of my stay, which will be renewable every 2 or 5 years. I will never get an Emirati passport. Yes, I think that's extreme. Back to your question. Um, People that are collecting benefits should not be able to receive citizenship. I think the third point she mentioned about um, the third point she mentioned about people moving from 12 months to 5 years. I think that's long. I think to me, it's too long. So somebody has gone through the process of they've come here to study, or they've come through the spousal route, or they've come here through any other route, and then now they get their indefinite leave to remain. Now the current rules is that a year after they've gotten their indefinite leave to remain, they can apply for their naturalization and then become citizens. Now she's proposing, or the Conservative Party, remember she's a spokesman for the Conservative Party, they are now proposing that that person has to spend an extra 5 years. My question is why? Why do they have to spend that extra 5 years? Now, that extra 5 years, currently, for people who are trying to go through immigration status, they'll be paying for something called IHS, which is the NHS equivalent of if they seek medical attention during each year, they have to pay something to the NHS to cover the cost of them staying here. So I see this as partly a money grab from the government to extend the stay as much as possible. Don't forget that each year immigration fees goes up, visa fees go up every year. So now if somebody's coming through a 6 year period and now it's going to be 15 years, if you now calculate the future inflationary costs to that 15 years, it's going to be more. Now, thirdly, she mentions they have to be earning a certain amount. Yeah, you and I know that the vast majority of people that are immigrants that are going to be coming in are not going to get those top jobs that she's talking about. So the tax bracket that she's alluding to will likely to be people earning a lot more money. A lot of people are coming here and just trying to get by, maybe one menial job or the other. Now, a few people might be lucky to get some top plum job in investment, investment world, or they may be doctors or some high net worth individuals. That will now take a lot of people out of that bracket, and they will be they'll be exempt. Now, looking at it from their side, what is new? What is new? There is a trend in the West now that is anti-immigration. So I
Very
can't
clearly.
really go hard on Kemi on that basis. Is Kemi different from Trump? Is Kemi different from what's happening in France? Is she different from what's happening in Canada? Is she different from what's happening in Australia? Is she different from what's happening in Germany? The answer is no. There's a far right thinking that has been happening in Europe and in the West for a few years now. And I think that is just in line with what people are secretly wanting in these countries. And a leader who is bold enough to come out and say it. But for me, overall, I don't see how the 6 years to 15 years is a pass for me. If they had said maybe from 6 years, we're increasing it to 8, this thing should be done in baby steps. 6 to 8 or 6 to 9, or maybe even, you can argue maybe 6 to 10, 6 to 15. I mean, if you don't want immigrants to come in, or you only want the best of the best immigrants to come in, then do a tighter criteria that says you would only get the best of the best, and let them know from scratch that if you're not able to get a 60,000 pound job or 70,000 pound job within a certain period while you are here, we will not even entertain your visa, so that everybody knows from the jump that if you're not coming to do medicine, or you're not coming to do a course, or you're not coming in as somebody that is highly skilled, that will get. I mean, these people are already, these immigrants are already jumping hoops with discrimination, with racism, with even getting a business or a career that is well paying. They're already up against it already to start with. So this additions is going to make it even harder. But it's a plus for the species.
But isn't that the point? Isn't that what she's trying to do? Isn't the entire point to make immigration as difficult?
It
as
is.
possible,
It is. That's the whole idea.
They've come out and said it. I think they will then come up with schemes to target specific skill sets that they want. So if they want medical doctors, for example, they will now come up with a scheme that says, okay, these are our general rules, but for medical doctors or for whatever profession they're looking for, care workers or whatever it is, because they tend to want to attract two classes of people. They still want to attract the menial workers to do the jobs that their own people can't do or won't do. That's never going to go away. But they also then need the highly skilled people to plug gaps in their workforce. So there'll definitely be that. Definitely you're dealing with that double-edged thing. We will discourage everybody except the ones we want. The really low end and the really skilled guys that we really, really want. And somewhere in between, if you're not one of those categories. And then they're saying, there's something also something very exploitative about it. And I'll tell you what it is.
Okay. I'm going to add to exactly what you said when you finish. But go on.
It's exploitative because you're now seeing people that you're going to have to work 15 years before you get your citizenship. And if you bear in mind that a lot of the things you've just spoken about now, the challenges that immigrants face, you are now saying, if for an immigrant, the ultimate goal is to get the citizenship, people immigrate because of their children generally. It's to give their children better opportunities. So somebody comes in through whatever immigration window it is, and that people don't typically get the best of a land until they have the actual passport, the citizenship.
Yes.
So somebody comes in calculating that I'll come in, I'll be there for 10 years or whatever the scheme is. But if I'm here legally for 10 years, I will eventually get my passport. So someone does a calculation and says, okay, I'm 45. I can put in another 10 years of whatever it is. I'll be 55 years old. I can get the passport and whatever it is. You're not telling that person or someone that's going to immigrate at 30. You're not telling the person that you're going to hold on to this thing before you can get the passport is 15 years. Somebody coming in at 40 who was looking at a 10-year thing before, someone coming at 40 or 45, looking at 10 years before. The 45-year-old is looking at citizenship at 60 now. You know, it's but look at it this way. From the perspective of the British people who want to control immigration, and face it, you've already said it, that immigration is a major issue in many, many Western countries. That Western countries have become almost unanimously hostile toward immigration. You know, it's in every campaign, it's in every, every political race in the Western democracies. They're talking about it, I mean, you had Brexit, you had increasingly nationalist movements all over the world. And so for the British people who want to curb immigration, I mean, it's great now. We're making it more difficult. We'll control it. To the right-wing parties, to the right-wing politicians and movements, yes, which takes us back to what is Kemi doing? People have said Kemi is pandering to, she's conservative. So she's on the, she's on the, what's it called now? On the right side of the political spectrum. And people have said that immigrants on the Republican side or on the conservative side have to go harder, as it were. You've got to be more conservative than the main conservatives effectively. You have to work harder to be accepted, to prove that you really belong in those establishment parties. You have to work just that much harder. So it's looking like Kemi's going hard. Listen, I'm going to be hard on immigration. As a matter of fact, I'm going to not just say it, I'm going to draw a line in the sand and tell you what my specific policies will be. And I promise you, these policies will be harder than anything any of my other colleagues will dare to put down. We're going to do it. It's a clear statement of intent. It's a clear message to the Conservative Party that Kemi, I am not just one of you. I'm committed to the things you're committed to. Particularly this, and I'm going to use this immigration issue. This is going to be the hill that I die on.
Yes.
So you guys don't think that because I'm an immigrant, I'm going to be soft on immigration. No. And this is what I believe in. And from what Kemi says, this is what Kemi genuinely believes. I don't think that people say a lot of things about Kemi. I don't think that Kemi is actually pandering. I know I said earlier that people say she's pandering. And I say that people say she's pandering. Some of the things that Kemi says, Kemi really believes these things. And I don't like, some of the negative press that Kemi gets, some of the Nigerians who are attacking Kemi, when she says, "Oh, I lived in a house, we had no water," we talked about her experiences, and you get two things: people saying, "Kemi, shut up," because don't disgrace us, or it's not everything that you should say. Don't tell the world all these bad stories about us. People think that she's lying, so people think she's telling the truth, but don't talk about it, nah. Don't shame us, nah. Other people say she's telling the truth and she should be allowed to tell her truth, right? Which is where I belong. And then there's people who say she's lying. And I always ask, why do you think Kemi Badenoch is lying? Why do you think Kemi Badenoch is lying? Sorry. I apologize. Why do you think Kemi Badenoch is lying? Why would you think that she's lying about her experiences? Can any one of us who grew up in Nigeria in the 80s and the 90s talk about our stories without talking about police brutality or power failure or having a borehole collapse in your house and you need to go and get water from the next compound? It's happened to me. It has nothing to do whether you're middle class or not. But let's hear you.
So, a lot to unpack there. I'm going to
Mm.
come back to the pandering point that you made, which I think is a good point. Although you did say it kind of like looks like pandering. You said it was pandering. You said it kind of like looks like pandering. But before going to the pandering point, we've talked about some of the pros. We've also talked about some of the cons. So for me, um, if I go back to some of the cons as well, we're looking at it can it can affect skilled workers for the UK. Skilled workers, right? Now there's healthcare, there's construction, there's hospitality, but let me go to healthcare. I know doctors. I know a friend is a doctor, is a obstetrician and gynecologist. He specializes in cancer, women's cancer, reproductive area, etc., etc. And he has a team of five. Out of the team of five, there are only two of them left in the last 2 years. Three of the guys that came, they came from Nigeria and they came to the UK. They only spent a couple of years in the UK. They saw the way it was. They saw the way they were working. They checked out to Canada. Allow me. They're already doubling their income in Canada. That is even without the harsh new,
Immigration rules.
criteria,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
This is him seeing this. This is him telling me this on the phone that he's stressed because he's overworking, because he's having to cover shifts, because his guys are checking out. So the UK is bringing doctors from Nigeria, and then other countries are now stealing those same doctors from the UK. Yeah. So that's number one, labor shortage. Number two, less attractiveness for talent. I've talked about labor shortages, less attractiveness for talent, right? Meaning the UK is potentially going to become less competitive from this 2025 compared to countries that have more flexible immigration policies. Remember, UK is not the only country in the world, right?
No.
You have other countries, and the question now is, what are their own immigration policies? Are they more flexible, right? Another thing, uncertainty for employers. One of the reasons why employers do these things is to get people that are skilled, that are coming on visa, so they can offer them less salaries. And the incentive is, I will do your papers for you. I will do your work visa for you. If you work for me, but instead of paying you maybe £100,000 a year, I'll pay you £80, 80,000. And the skilled immigrant will be like, I'll take that, because he knows though he's worth 100K. Now a Goldman Sachs or a top
You're
company
getting
might
5
not
million
want
naira.
to
You was getting
bother.
5 million naira a year in Nigeria.
Yeah,
now.
they're not going to bother with any kind. They don't want to. Some companies don't want to bother with doing visa for you. But for the
Yeah.
companies that do that, they are doing that because they're also saving money on.
On
Now,
salary.
if they now know that this thing is uncertain, companies that can't, that their employees cannot meet the new visa requirements, they're going to have to let those people go, because they don't want wahala from the government. Because the new threshold, I know this is all hypothetical because they've not come out to say what the new threshold would be. But
And
assuming
she
the new
hasn't won
threshold,
she hasn't won the election.
this is all hypothetical that we're discussing. Then
Yeah.
we can now look at, you now have a longer period of temporary status. Now, telling migrants that they have to stay for 10 years before applying for permanent residency, that can also slow down their integration into British society. And sense of belonging might be harder to achieve or longer to achieve, because the time it takes them to get these papers will be longer.
Longer,
Now,
yeah.
another thing is, when you look at if skilled migrants choose to leave or not come to the UK at all, the UK could lose tax revenue from high earners in key sectors. Now, what kind of countries, or what countries could the UK lose these people to, if they decide that, "Oh, man, it's not worth it. This 15 years thing, like you said, I'm coming at 45. I'm now looking at 60 before I get my full papers." Now, who can the UK lose these people to? Canada. Canada continues to have one of the most attractive immigration policies. They offer permanent residency in as little as 3 years. They have an
Yeah.
express entry system that prioritizes skilled workers based on experience, education, and language ability, right?
Yep.
They also have access to free healthcare, and they have a strong job market, particularly in tech, healthcare, and engineering, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know it's cold there, oh, so if you don't just skinny, there's pro and con. The place is cool though. Anyway, that aside, um, Australia as well. Australia offers permanent residency after 4 years of work. Who might go there? Doctors, nurses, tech workers, engineers.
Those big
Germany,
spiders they have. Those they're big spiders.
I know, big ones. Oh. Germany also has a blue card system. Their blue card system is within 33 months. If you have German language skills, you can speak German, that is significantly reduced to 21 months, right? Even America, right? You have you can now have people now saying, might as well just go to America, because even the 15 years might not be 15 years in the US, but you're getting significantly more money than coming to the UK. And then even New Zealand, New Zealand's own too is, they offer their PR after 2 years. So this is just a few countries that I've mentioned. Now, what are the pros, right? The pros, or so they say, they are controlling their population growth because of the record high net immigration numbers that they've seen. They can also say the higher levels of immigration put pressure on the NHS, schools, housing, transport. They can also say the new rules prioritize highly skilled migrants, and that will bring economic benefits rather than low skilled workers. Immigration continues to be a major issue in the UK because the UK currently has a severe housing shortage. Net immigration, like I mentioned, Brexit was partly about reducing immigration, but numbers have increased post Brexit.
Wow.
Right now, but the thing I see with this thing is, immigration continues to be, a red hot issue because it ties into economic, social, and political concerns. Now, while her policies aim to strike a kind of like balance, whether they succeed or they backfire, it remains to be seen. Like you said, the election is not even till 2029, so we have some time to go. But when you mentioned pandering, I'll come back to the pandering point. I think this thing is not even about just immigration, is about what is the competition doing. Now, who is our competition as we speak? Nigel Farage, right, on the Reform UK Party, is her main competitor. He's gained popularity over the few years by pushing for even harsher immigration controls. Now, conservatives are losing voters to reform. Do you understand?
Yep.
They are losing voters to reform. So Badenoch, I think, is moving further right. She's moving further right. So probably she was right already, but she's now moving further right to win those voters back. Now, I mentioned Brexit earlier, and there's a post-Brexit contradiction somewhat, where the whole idea of Brexit happening, or the promise they made, was that there will be lower immigration after Brexit because of the tighter immigration rules. But like I said, the numbers have continued to go up to record levels. Now, we're coming to an election in a couple of years' time. They are suddenly talking. That's the Conservative Party is now suddenly talking tough after years of inaction. So, is this more about genuine reform, or is this about politics? Guys, please, it's not just allow me and I. Please put your comments in, subscribe if you haven't liked this video. So that's a question. So is it more about politics, or is it more about genuine reform?
It's
Now,
always politics.
the biggest immigration concern in the UK is illegal migration, which is small boats coming in. But her policy is targeting legal migrants. That's the issue I have with it. Guys, stay with us. Legal migrants. These people came into the country legally. Whatever visa they got, and however they entered the UK, they entered the UK legally. They didn't come in to the border and with expired passports or olori, or they're claiming that they were, abused where they're coming from or whatever reason that they came from, and they're seeking asylum. These are not asylum seekers. These are people that have come in, they've come in from the Home Office, or they've come in through any other embassy from where they're coming from. They've arrived the country legally, and these are the people that these new policies, or this new policy is targeting. So to me, it seems like some kind of like symbolic gesture to please anti-immigration voters rather than tackling the real issue. Now, don't forget, the Conservatives have struggled in elections of late. I mean, you saw the landslide on last one. And this could be a last-minute attempt to energize their base. Because if they don't go hard on immigration, how are they going to win the next election? How are they going to take it from the current Labour party? So for me, pandering, I'm going to lean towards yes, because it conveniently aligns with an election strategy, right? And it's targeting a group, which is legal migrants, rather than fixing the real issues, which is illegal immigration and small boats. What happened to the plan? What happened to the Rwanda plan? That plan is dead on arrival. What happened to that? So how are you going to solve this illegal immigration issue rather than now moving the goalposts and going towards legal migration? Now, you might argue, is it a genuine policy? Maybe. But if the Tories were serious, the Tories meaning the Conservative, which is her party, if they were serious about immigration reform, they could have done this years ago, not just before an election. But I'll concede that is likely to be a mix of political strategy and ideology. But the timing and focus makes it clear that this is largely a move to appeal to right-wing voters. Those are my thoughts.
I agree. It's also a sign of desperation, as it were. If you're already announcing these things 2 years to go, with how many? When was the last election? Wasn't it like last week?
Yesterday. Yesterday.
So you're already announcing these hard lines. Hey, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. Clearly, she's trying to get ahead of whatever she's just trying to get ahead of whatever the struggles are with the other parties, their popularity contests and all that. I'm looking at this from our perspective, the people on the outside. I remember that when we were younger, it was a case of if you came to the UK early enough, you got to the UK at 16 or 18 after secondary school, and you spent your 10 years. So you did A levels, you did your undergrad, and you were fortunate enough to get a job, or a lot of people do masters and co. Just trying to rack up 10 years of legal stay so you can get your British passport. And you could just about, if you've done 2 years of A levels, 3 years of undergrad is 5 years. A year of masters is 6 years. So you got 6 years. Guys would do a PhD 10 years in, a 4-year PhD, 10 years. And you're finishing school and getting your British passport. Someone now telling you that it's now going to be 15 years. Those calculations go out the window. Imagine you could have done, all those routes that were available then. You could have done A levels, do your degree, get HSMP or whatever the route was, knowing that, okay, I've got 5 years already. This HSMP, whatever it is I'm doing, can give you another 2 to 3 years. I can get, basically, you can sort of rough it to get 10 years. 15 years is not a joke.
It's not a joke.
Your life on hold. I remember guys saying, or I remember when people were finishing school and they were like, look, I have 2 years to go to get my British passport. I'm going to rough this. People were in jobs they didn't like. People were offering them, come back to Nigeria. There's a job for you in Nigeria, or go somewhere else. And they're saying, or get another job. And he's saying, well, I can't, he or she is saying, I can't get another job because the other job will not file for me. But I've got 2 years to go at this job, or 2 years to go to get my British passport. If I hold on to this job for another 2 years, then I'm free. Okay, I can then get the job I want and do whatever I want to do with my life.
Now, there was light at the end of the tunnel.
It's 15 years now. The guy or girl that came in at 18 will get it before they're 30. And that's allowing for delays because you couldn't find work or, whatever it is. Now, 15 years. It's hard. It's hard. There's definitely, you don't need to pretend that there's clearly a war on immigration going on here. Clearly.
Yes, so.
But let's now look at it from that side, our people's side. Why is it one of us? Tian, tia, tiwan, tiwa, one of us. To go back to what you had said before, that why now? Why is the Conservative Party doing this thing now? My next question to you then, Yemi, is why now, Abi? And why is it one of us? Why is it one of us? That when the party then has to make
it's a fair shout.
These changes, why is it now one of us that's spearheading this thing? Yemi, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, no. It's a fair shout. But I've noticed something about the UK. Sneaky. The last 2-3 home secretaries have been not white.
Immigrants.
Pranay Patel, James Cleverly, I can't remember the last person. So, and Home Secretary is in charge of, as you know, immigration alongside other matters under that person's purview. And one of the advantages of putting a non-white person in those roles is you cannot accuse that person of racism.
Oh, yeah.
So I think it's very smart.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're not qualified, though, but it's just a pattern that I've noticed over the last 3 home secretaries. I'm like, yes, our people, that are being used, but does Kemi genuinely see herself as one of us, or does she see herself as more British? And the reason why I'm asking that is she's not speaking as a Nigerian president or a Nigerian future prime minister. She's speaking as a future
British prime minister.
But her politics have been a bit divisive, because I have never heard her talk about the great things that our people have done and continue to do in the UK in every sphere of the British economy. Never heard her talk about Bukayo Saka for Arsenal. I've never heard her talk about the great entrepreneurs that are doing well in the city. I've never heard her talk about other Nigerians that are doing well in the UK. It always seems to be like negative things. But these are my final thoughts on the topic. The UK has been a top destination for Nigerians for education, work, and settlement, majorly because of the
cultural ties,
the post-colonial ties, and language. Yeah, but these new policies will make it much harder and more expensive, more to the point, to stay permanently. So more Nigerians may choose alternative countries, and I think we've started to see that over the last 12 months, where they can settle faster, pay lower visa fees, and access benefits sooner. Who is the biggest winner? Canada, which now offers a more easier pathway for skilled Nigerians looking for a long-term future abroad. In fact, with the Canadian system, you get your permanent residency before you get to the airport, before you get to Muritala. There's no messing about. They want you to come, and they are showing it in their PR. You get your PR in Lagos before you board flight. None of this business of you first come with student, from student, you change, from this one, you change, from that one, you change. They just want to collect money. So Canada is the biggest winner, because Canada also offers that English requirement that Nigerians crave for without having to now go and learn another language. So again, if you're new to our channel, please give us a like, please give us a follow or subscribe, which is more pertinent to YouTube language. Share. If you want to join the show, you want us, so it could be three of us talking, or 4 of us, as many as possible, please send us an email at twogrownmen@gmail.com. We're also on Twitter X. We're also on Instagram as well. Send us a DM there.